all the latest stories making the headlines this afternoon with the ITV Lunchtime News.
A year of reform for the NHS, but can the Prime Minister's plan be turned into practice? Sir Keir Starmer says he wants to cut waiting lists and deliver 2 million more appointments by the end of next year. But doing that, say medics, will require an end to the health service staffing crisis.
We're not sure that the workforce is being given quite enough focus at this moment in time, because actually you've still got to have people to treat patients and look after them.
Also this lunchtime, a line has been crossed. The PM finally speaks out over Elon Musk's incendiary online posts.
Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible. They're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
The families of 3 teenagers killed in a car crash caused by a friend who was on laughing gas call for stricter laws for young drivers. After the big freeze, more weather warnings as snow starts to melt. Flooding now hits motorways and train lines. And
you can know the value of your worth if you just put down the measuring stick.
after decades in the business, Demi Moore wins her first ever acting award at last night's Golden Globes.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good afternoon. The Prime Minister has set out details of the government's plan to fix an ailing NHS. Sir Keir Starmer said the service had to be catapulted into the future and said that would take reform from top to bottom. The aim is to cut NHS waiting lists, currently standing at 7.5 million. More appointments will be made available and the private sector will be harnessed. But some medics are concerned whether it's even possible on existing staffing. With more, here's our political correspondent, Harry Horton.
For almost 2 years, Jamie Barber's life has been on hold. His gallbladder needs removing and doctors have said he's at risk of sepsis and liver dysfunction. And while his mum supports him at home, he's still waiting for treatment from the NHS.
The NHS waiting list has been like a theme park queue. Like it's taken ages to get there. I've been on a waiting list for about over a year and a half just to get this little mini surgery done. And the longer it takes, the longer it can take upon my life.
I'm constantly worried about him. When the pain symptoms flare up and he's just laying in that bed, it's heartbreaking. I can't do anything for him. It just feels like nobody will help me.
There are more than 7.5 million people in England on NHS waiting lists. So no surprise, bringing that number down was the Prime Minister's focus at the start of the new year.
To catapult the service into the future, we need an NHS that is reformed from top to bottom. Millions of extra appointments, signed, sealed and delivered with the plan that we are launching here today.
By the next election, Keir Starmer wants 92% of patients in England to begin treatment within 18 weeks. To meet that target, the government plans to open community diagnostic centres for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ministers want the private sector to deliver an extra 2 million NHS appointments by the end of next year. And they want greater use of AI and technology to track symptoms and cut 500,000 unnecessary appointments. But there are concerns within the NHS about staff retention and morale.
We're not sure that the workforce is being given quite enough focus at this moment in time, because actually you've still got to have people to treat patients and look after them.
The government has increased funding for the NHS but says it must come with reform. The success of those reforms will be crucial to Labour's hopes for re-election. Harry Horton, ITV News.
The Prime Minister also faced questions today for the first time about a slew of social media posts directed at him and the government by ex-boss Elon Musk. The world's richest man has made unevidenced claims of an official cover-up about grooming gangs and even called for a Labour minister to be sent to prison. But this morning, Sir Keir Starmer hit back, saying Jess Phillips was a target of the far-right's poison and defended his own record as a former director of public prosecutions.
I reopened cases that had been closed and supposedly finished. I brought the first major prosecution of an Asian grooming gang. In the particular case, it was in Rochdale, but it was the first of its kind. There were many that then followed that format. Those that are spreading lies and misinformation as far and as wide as possible, they're not interested in victims. They're interested in themselves.
Our political editor, Robert Peston, was at this morning's speech. And Robert, Sir Keir wanted to focus on the NHS today, but he was forced to speak about this online spat.
Yes, I mean, let's be absolutely clear. Although his main speech was about the NHS, he had prepared a very detailed set of comments about Elon Musk's charges. He resisted the temptation to name Musk himself, but it was a direct attack by the Prime Minister on Musk. He said he was spreading lies. He attacked Elon Musk's call for the far-right campaigner to be released from prison, saying that actually Tommy Robinson was in prison because he was undermining attempts by the courts to actually take action against grooming gangs. He also launched an incredibly strong attack on the Conservative Party and Kemi Badenoch in particular for not defending Keir Starmer's colleague Jess Phillips when Jess Phillips herself was subject to vitriolic attacks by Elon Musk. Now, why does any of this matter? Well, it matters for two reasons. Not only is Elon Musk the world's richest man, but he has 211 million followers on X, and he has been tweeting stuff about not only Keir Starmer and Jess Phillips, but the whole UK that many would regard as toxic, essentially saying that child groomers are not being brought to justice and that there's a conspiracy to cover up. This is hugely inflammatory stuff. As I say, Keir Starmer described it as lies. The other really important point about Elon Musk is he is remarkably close to the American president, Donald Trump. He contributed an enormous amount of money to Donald Trump's campaign, and he has been charged by Trump to increase the efficiency of the American government. So there are risks for Keir Starmer in taking on Musk if he in turn alienates the American president. But for Starmer, he says the risks are worth taking because he believes that Musk, and he said this, was undermining confidence in democracy.
All right, Robert, in Westminster, thank you. Travel disruption has hit commuters heading back to work at the start of the first full week of the new year. Heavy snow and icy rainfall has led to cancelled journeys on the roads, railways and at Manchester Airport. And this lunchtime, hundreds of flood alerts are in force. Well, Martha Fairley is in Chesterfield. Stacey Foster is in Loughborough. Let's go to Martha first. And Martha, what's the situation there?
Well, after more snowfall early this morning and overnight, the snow is now melting, turning into a slushy, slippery surface on minor roads and pavements, and that melt is also causing flooding. Just take a look over here. This is the A617, normally a really busy road linking Chesterfield to the M1. It is clearly shut right now, but the snow is still affecting travel further north. There are still delays at Manchester Airport, where they had to close the runway because of heavy snow this morning. That opened, but their flights are still delayed. And in much of the north of England and much of Scotland, there's still a thick covering of snow. That means schools in Aberdeenshire, Moray, the Highlands, Lancashire and parts of Yorkshire are all closed. So what was the first day back at school has turned into another snow day.
Well, at 7:30 this morning, Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service declared a major incident after receiving more than 200 calls from members of the public, largely around flooded roads. They say 17 people have had to be rescued so far, and there has been real travel disruption here. This restaurant's been forced to close this lunchtime because of a flooded car park. There's also been significant problems on the railways in the East Midlands. No trains running between Nottingham and Derby because of flooded tracks, and there's also been delays at Leicester Station as well. There are still more than 160 flood alerts in place across England at the moment as this cold snap continues to cause problems.
All right, Stacey and Martha, thank you both. Well, while the UK grapples with the wintry weather here, a huge storm is biting the US. Today, 60 million Americans are waking up under weather alerts. Carrie Davis has the latest.
Snow has fallen faster than people can dig. Kansas hasn't seen snow this heavy for more than 30 years. The weight of it in Utah triggered an avalanche, closing a major road. Even where snow has been cleared, freezing temperatures make driving extremely dangerous. Storm Blair has swept across the Midwest towards the East Coast. Around 30 states are affected by snow, frozen rain, gusty winds and thunderstorms. 7 have declared a state of emergency. In these conditions, dealing with other emergencies is much more difficult.
The biggest thing for us is just the water. Our hose lines have a tendency, and our pumps have a tendency to freeze in these types of temperatures.
More than 1,000 flights have been cancelled and hundreds more delayed, while officials in several states are pleading with residents to keep off the roads. On them, almost constantly, snowplow drivers.
No sleep, a lot of gas station food, and we'll probably be out till sometime Tuesday doing this.
While some are enjoying this unusually deep winter, the effects of Storm Blair will take a little time to shake off. Carrie Davis, ITV News.
Some other news now. 3 Israelis have been killed and several others injured. And the Russian Defence Ministry says its forces have hit back after Ukraine launched a renewed offensive in Russia's Kursk region. They've released this footage allegedly showing the Russian armed forces carrying out airstrikes. Here, the families of 3 boys killed in a car crash caused by their teenage friend are campaigning for stricter laws for young drivers. Thomas Johnson was jailed last month for causing the deaths of his passengers, Daniel Hancock, Ethan Goddard and Elliot Pullum. He'd been inhaling laughing gas at the wheel and hit a tree at more than 100 miles an hour. Aisha Zahid reports.
Filmed from the back seat, this footage shows Thomas Johnson driving with friends while he inhales nitrous oxide. Only moments later, he loses control of the car, killing all the passengers inside. These were the 3 young lives lost: 17-year-old Elliot Pullum, Daniel Hancock and Ethan Goddard, both aged 18. Elliot's sister Mia spoke about their devastating loss.
It's absolutely torn us apart. Our lives will never be the same, and it's had such a ripple effect over the families, the friends, everyone.
That night, Johnson had been driving at over 100 miles per hour. This footage shows him and the front passenger inhaling the gas from balloons.
Extreme excessive speed.
In the wreck of the car, police found 10 canisters of nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas. Johnson, who was left with life-changing injuries, pleaded guilty to 3 counts of causing death by dangerous driving and was jailed for 9 years. The families of the teenagers killed are now campaigning for graduated driving licences, proposals which would place a probation period on new drivers with restrictions.
Even if a small majority of people followed those laws, there would be consequences in place for those who didn't. I think a limit on the power of car you could be insured on, that would help.
All 3 families say they'll keep on pushing for change so others don't have to go through what they did. Aisha Zahid, ITV News.
Still ahead, the woman given a cancer all clear after a pioneering treatment, and
I've got a very Yorkshire accent, and I just kept saying, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this is happening to me.
Baby Reindeer star Jessica Gunning stunned as she picks up a Golden Globe. But first, Justin Welby will officially step down as the Archbishop of Canterbury later today. He announced he was giving up the role in November after a review found he could and should have formally reported decades of abuse of men and young boys by the Christian camp leader John Smythe. Our correspondent John Ray is at Lambeth Palace. John, a final day of duties, but all behind closed doors.
Yeah, and in contrast to the very public role that Justin Welby has played for the past 12 years or so, his last day will be intensely private. There is a Eucharist service this lunchtime, evensong later this afternoon, after which we are told he will lay down his crozier, which is the official staff of office that bishops carry. And then tonight, that will be the end of his stint as Archbishop of Canterbury. It is also his 69th birthday today, and there is a lunch or some kind of gathering for staff and friends, but all very low profile, as you say. What happens now is that the most part of his official duties are taken over by Stephen Cottrell, who is the Archbishop of York, though it is a measure of the difficulties that the Church finds itself in that Mr. Cottrell himself has faced calls to stand down because of his handling of a separate child abuse scandal. And in terms of a full-time successor, that is still many, many months away. Whoever they choose will have to somehow try to draw a line under this scandal and then pilot a church riven by division between progressives and conservatives into the future. It is no wonder, Lou, that many people call the top job here at Lambeth Palace a poisoned chalice.
All right, John, thank you. A man has been charged with assisting a former soldier who escaped from prison. Imran Chowdhury, who was 25, was arrested in January last year. Daniel Khalif escaped from HMP Wandsworth in September 2023. He'll appear before magistrates tomorrow. And tributes have been paid to the RuPaul's Drag Race star, the Vivienne, who has died aged 32. James Lee Williams, whose drag name came from their love of Vivienne Westwood, was described as a beacon to so many. Next, a woman in her 30s who had been given just a short time to live has now been declared cancer-free thanks to a pioneering transplant. Bianca Pereira had an advanced bowel tumour which then spread to her liver, but in a British first, she was given an organ transplant which medics hope should mean the cancer won't come back. Well, Leela Dami is here. And Leela, Bianca says this has given her a second chance of life, hasn't it? But the outlook was pretty bleak, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, she underwent years of treatment and now she's been told by doctors that she is cancer-free. Bianca Pereira was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer, which is the most advanced kind, in 2021. And she was told that it had spread to 8 areas, all areas of her liver. She then underwent 37 rounds of a targeted drug and chemotherapy for 2.5 years before an operation in 2023 to remove the bowel tumour. But scans showed she still had tumours in her liver which she couldn't be operated on. So at that point, doctors started to think about a transplant. And then she found a donor last year and she was able to undergo an operation at Leeds Teaching Hospitals NHS Trusts. And she said, within 4 weeks of going under the knife, I was able to drive and walk the family dogs. It was really quite incredible. To go from being told I'd only have a short time to live to now being cancer-free is the greatest gift. I've been given a second chance at life. I'm going to grab it with both hands. I'm so grateful to the family who agreed to donate their loved one's liver.
And Anila, doctors saying, you know, there's no signs of any cancer now.
Yeah, I mean, they say that bowel cancer, advanced bowel cancer, is really complex. There are so many different types. But they say Bianca responded well to her treatment and that they hope that she'll remain cancer-free. They've made it clear that what works for one person might not work for another. But according to the charity Bowel Cancer UK, almost 44,000 people are diagnosed with bowel cancer every year. So this may provide them with some hope.
Yeah. Great news for Bianca. We wish her all the best. Aaliyah, thank you. And finally, this lunchtime, there was glamour, comedy and tears last night at the first big award ceremony of 2025. The Golden Globe celebrates the best of film and television, and this year was dominated by first-time winners. After 4 decades in the business, Demi Moore finally bagged a prize, and there was triumph too for one of the British stars of Baby Reindeer. Here's Will Tullis.
For stars of the screen, award season is underway. The Golden Globes returned to Hollywood for its 82nd outing, celebrating the very best of TV and film.
Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez.
First up, and one of the big winners of the night, the musical crime comedy Emilia Perez. The tale of a Mexican drug lord. Nominated for 10 awards, winning 4, including Best Musical or Comedy Film.
I'm filled with adrenaline, but my heart is full of gratitude.
Hollywood stalwart Demi Moore picked up her first ever acting award, winning Best Musical or Comedy Actress for her role in The Substance, a film that takes aim at the movie industry's shunning of older actresses.
I've been doing this a long time, like over 45 years, and this is the first time I've ever won anything as an actor.
He'll never be free of this prison.
4 years ago, the Golden Globes came under fire for a lack of diversity among its judges. It now claims to have the most diverse panel of the main movie awards. This year's ceremony saw cross-cultural productions winning big. Shogun, the Japanese-American historical drama, took home 4 awards, including Best TV Drama.
Thank you to the voters for voting for me, even though I would vote for Kathy Bates any day.
British nominees Kate Winslet and Daniel Craig missed out on awards.
There you are!
But Baby Reindeer made sure UK talent didn't leave empty-handed. Richard Gadd's drama won Best Limited TV Series, with Jessica Gunning picking up Best Supporting TV Actress.
I've got a very Yorkshire accent, and I just kept saying, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this is happening to me. And I realised this morning that that has been a kind of soundtrack for my life for this last year since Baby Reindeer came out. I cannot believe any of this is happening to me.
The Globes are often seen as a litmus test for the Oscars, a dress rehearsal of sorts. Plenty more up for grabs then, with 2 months to go until the Academy Awards. Will Tullis, ITV News.
And that's it for now. Mary is back with the evening news at 6:30. The news where you are is next. But from everyone on the Lunchtime team, bye-bye. Have a great afternoon.